Welcome, Let Freedom Ring. My guest this week, Jacinda Dizzazzo. Jacinda, welcome to the show. Did I say it right?
Yes.
That's the hardest part of the show is last names. And I have a hard last name, so, I guess I want to make sure I always have it right.
Mm-hmm.
But welcome to the show. Let's get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I'm originally from Manchester, New Hampshire. I started bouncing back and forth between my parents of Methuen, Mass. And Manchester, and then my mom just moved me to Merrimack, and I've just stayed there ever since.
Awesome. And so you graduated from Merrimack High?
2016.
Oh, all right. Did you play any sports in high school or anything?
Softball, basketball, and I kind of just gave up on it, and then I picked it back up later on in life.
Okay. All right. And we were talking off air because I said, I don't know anybody else with the name Jacinda.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, is there an origin story to that?
My mom was watching The Real Life of Australia, and she heard a woman named Jacinda on the show, and that name has ever just stuck with her. And so she never picked another name. She never had a backup. It was always, my daughter's name's going to be Jacinda.
So that's it. Yeah, she was sold on that.
Yep.
Is that, so is a show, I wonder if that's a big name in Australia.
I'm more than positive the president of Australia is named Jacinda.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense. Because, I was going to say, I was just I don't know anybody else with that name. So it's unique. Mine's Dan. Everybody that was born in the 80s, it feels like, is Dan. But what are 3 things that everybody should know about you?
I'm very caring about my friends and family. I will give my shirt off my back for my friends. I'm a very, very hard worker. I've been working since I was 14. Okay. And I've always had a job. I've only had 3 big ones in my entire life. And I love my dogs.
Okay.
I love my dogs more than anything.
And we did promote, and you just recently got a new dog, right?
I did. Ryder.
Adorable.
Very young, but I love him more than anything.
How's the puppy training going with that?
I haven't signed him up yet. I've been trying to do it at home, and I get frustrated, I won't lie, because it's hard to just have him do it. Obviously, he's learning, and I'm learning to have a puppy, so it's been a learning experience for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Dogs, they can be very, little things that they learn early on can be there forever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Now I got to ask, you started working at 14, so what was your first job?
Market basket.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So you didn't I always thought it was 15, but 14 and a half?
It was 14 and a half, and I was just a strict cashier. I could only work 3-hour shifts and then go home, and then when I turned 15, I could do longer shifts there.
Oh, that's super cool. There's a lot of young people that work at Market Basket. My first job, not as cool, I don't think. I worked at iParty. And you might be too young to remember iParty.
No, I remember iParty.
Okay, it became Big Party, and I was a balloon specialist, which means I could blow up balloons with helium tanks. I had to have take a class to do it, and I hated it.
I could imagine.
Yeah, it was not fun, but it's funny because I was a Nashville guy, and it was. Did you work at that Market Basket that's right over the border?
With the Marshalls and the Planet Fitness and Big Lots. I worked right there. Okay, so
that's there was an iParty there. There used to be an MVP Sports. So it's kind of funny that you worked there because I lived in Nashua, and it was a lot of Merrimack people worked at that iParty, and that's how I knew people there.
You had going into Amherst, Merrimack, and then Nashua.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd have to assume Market Basket probably pays a little better than Shaw's.
I've never worked at Shaw, so I can't
speak to that.
I can't speak to that, but I did get paid pretty well.
Okay. Family-run business.
Oh yeah.
Now here's the money question we ask everybody. Sticking with the theme of the show, and the best that you can. What does it mean to you to be an American? It's a loaded question,
Loving the state you're in. Just being yourself, doing what you think is right for your country, fighting for it. It's really what I have.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I mean, honestly, like, yeah, pride in country. We do have the right to think and be who we are. We can say what we want, you know, as long as like we're not threatening people, you know, within reason. I guess. But no, good answer. I want to get into this. We're gonna get right into it because you had a lot of fan questions. A lot of people actually requested this episode after you had posted if I ever went on a podcast. We're not a podcast. We just want to address that we're public access YouTube, but same difference, you know. First question is from Jennifer Marie Colbert, I believe Nick's mom.
Yes.
She wants to know, is studying forensic psychology as cool as it seems, and how awesome it is you're making honor roll, way to kick butt. We're going to edit that for the show. Also, how awesome is that Nick H. Laugh my butt off. But how is it studying forensic psychology?
I like it, but I've never been good at school, so I struggle in some departments, especially with reading. So
Okay.
I'm learning a lot more things and also more about myself of how I take in my information, because forensic psychology is a huge thing that you do have to learn in every mental behavior and every human like movement you have to know. So it's been fun learning, but it's also been very, very difficult, especially being out of school for 7 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, are you doing this online? Or
All online, yep.
All online, okay. Yeah, I had to say, like, I've learned as I got older, sometimes I do have, like, if you're ever in a group chat with me and I might send something that people are like, what are you talking about? And it might have looked perfectly fine in my head and I didn't type it out wrong. But, like, sometimes reading comprehension can be actually kind of tough. Like,
Well, I'm dyslexic, so it's a learning curve for me.
Okay.
Very much.
What do you have to do, like, to like, how does that work? Because I don't know how.
So I will get a lot of my letters mixed up, or I will look at a word and I personally think it's spelt wrong when it's actually not, so I'm not pronouncing it right, so I'm not understanding the concept of the word.
Okay.
So I have to go back and like reread the sentence as many times as I can to understand that, oh, that word is correct and it's supposed to be where it is. Or I'll get my M and W's mixed up a lot, my B and D's. Honestly, my J and G's a lot. So I'll start like writing something out and I'll get the wrong letter.
Okay.
So it's a learning curve because I have to slow myself down and pronunciate everything correctly and go back and reread. So it's very frustrating, but also it's a learning curve for me, especially being in forensic psychology. You have to be on the ball with that, so it is definitely a learning curve.
Are you someone, too, that just kind of like, because I know how I get very, if you haven't noticed, I get distracted very easily. Do you kind of have to just, like, lock yourself in a room?
Yes.
To, like, okay, yeah, I'm saying.
You'll catch me doing my homework at the field sometimes, and I'll get one question done, then I can't do anymore because I'll be talking to everyone and start looking at, like, where the ball is being thrown, or I'll be listening to someone else's conversation and just chime in, so I can't ever do my homework with other people.
No, understandable. And how, are you liking like the online environment, or?
I do, because I can't sit in a classroom for hours on end, just staring at the same four walls. At least with my iPad, I can move throughout my house and be able to put myself in an environment I know I am comfortable in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because I went to Plymouth State, so I did live there, but I now work in online education, so I think it's great, and it's also, you know, for people that want to make their own kind of schedule, now they have the availability to do that, so very cool. Next question from umpire Dean Hand, the Honorable Dean Hand, I should say.
Great man.
How do you keep such an accurate book, and did Stephanie Hart teach you?
Steph Hart did teach me a lot of her ways on her book, her and Brittany.
Okay.
They've helped me this year actually with a lot more how to tally things up better and how to write certain things. So I do give it to Brittany and Steph for helping me do a better book and feel better and more confident about it.
Okay. Now, do you do all like because I haven't done like had to do a book since like maybe ever, to be honest. And I know what some of the stuff are, but I forget, so I just color it in. Like, are you keeping like the stats stuff, or you just, you know?
Steph is teaching me how to do that, but I keep the home runs and I color everything in and stuff. It's just learning to do the stats is what I'm currently being taught by Steph.
Okay. Yeah, that's it's a good thing. There is an app too, that Benny Bork that ran the Raccoons used to use, and he just would put the information in and it would give you the stats. So
Steph is very smart when it comes to this. I give it to her. Very smart.
Numbers person.
Very.
Scott Daypray, Maverick Wild, he's former guest and a professional wrestler, wants to know forensic psychology. Did she hate the show Dexter?
Actually, Dexter was my favorite show.
Really?
Loved Dexter, yep. Watching the crime shows and everything like that is what got me into forensic psychology, and I've just loved it ever since. I've always been into crime shows and how to solve them. Like, I'll stay up and be like, oh, nope, this person did it. Nope, that person did it. I've always been into solving crimes and how they're solved and everything. So Dexter kept me on my toes, honestly.
I do watch a lot of those shows, like in the real life ones. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but sometimes they make me a little paranoid.
The first 48.
Yeah, that, and I used to like put on Investigation Discovery and just watch it all day.
I did too.
And yeah,
I've watched these shows since I was honestly probably like 10 or 11.
Okay, you started a little younger than me.
Yeah. I absolutely love crime shows.
Awesome. Now Dexter, I gotta ask this because did you watch like the new one too?
The season 2?
Well, didn't they? So I only got to season 4, and I stopped watching. But I guess they finished the series and they rebooted it.
I haven't seen the reboot.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've watched Dexter, actually, but yeah, I haven't seen the reboot of it.
Okay. I did love Dexter, and I think what happened was that was on Showtime. And I think in like 2009 or something, I canceled Showtime or something happened, and I just fell off and never got back into it. But season 4 was that was one of the bigger cliffhangers ever. I don't want to spoil that in case there's anybody that wants to watch it, but
great show.
But yeah, I agree. Pat Conley wants to know. And first he says, who in their right mind requested her exactly? And he says, he's just kidding. Yeah, Pat.
Oh, yeah.
So what made her, or how did you become interested in forensic psychology or the forensic field in general? He gave a shout out to Greg, your boyfriend. I don't know. He gave Greg Kelly a shout out. So
Pat Conley does love Greg Kelly.
Yeah. But how did you get interested? Was it the TV shows?
It was the TV shows. Okay. So I'm in nursing now, and I've been in nursing since 2017.
Okay.
And so I've always just been into the hands-on helping people, like solution-wise, everything. And just when I found out that there was a forensic psychology program at SNU, I took advantage of it and got into a field that I can see myself progressing in and being able to help where I can, and just learning more about the human brain is really fascinating to me.
Oh, absolutely. So, because actually that brings up, so you currently been in nursing since high school, or?
No, so I worked at Victoria's Secret for a while, and then I found a new job at the place I'm currently at, Langdon.
Okay.
I worked in the kitchen for 6 months. I went through the LNA program, and then I went upstairs, started working the floors. I have been taking a class here and there to go for my LPN, but I just resorted back to forensic psychology. So I'm still in nursing. I'm still working full time. I don't plan to give up my nursing at all, but I'm going to just go more forward with forensic.
Yeah, and I mean, you can expand. I mean, sometimes I think I'm like, I can never change anything because I'm like, oh, I'm almost 40, I can't, but, you're young, you can definitely do that, and I can still, and anybody can. So I think that's awesome. Which brings us to a question from Brittany Damon, because now we brought up the nursing. Tell us about a time at the nursing home that it was your most WTF moment, if you're allowed to talk about that. We obviously no names or anything like that, but
some things I can't talk about. But I will say, me personally, I have done just kind of dodo head things. Like, my resident and I were running down the hall one time, and we were jogging, and I tripped, and I somersaulted, and she just like looks at me and goes, "Ugh, younger people," and just walked away from me. I was like, yeah, that That was a dodo move on my head.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of WTF moments that I would love to share with everyone, but unfortunately, due to HIPAA, I can't.
Yep, we understand that. We never press on, like, because, nursing and a lot of different jobs, like, you guys can't talk about the day-to-day there.
As much as I have so many stories that my residents have told me from the 1930s, 40s, all the war stories, I would love to be able to tell. But unfortunately, I can't. But the nursing home will keep you on your toes. I will 1,000% agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Travis Luis, I got to address this because we want to address this because this seems to happen in certain characters. It seems to be a lot of the LOL guys, and I think he's more of a Methuen guy, but I'm going to group him in with the LOL people.
He is Methuen. He grew up with my cousin.
Yeah, and big shot. Sadder story. My wrestling coach, Coach James, for 2 years when I was in high school, was Travis's gym teacher, and he just recently had an accident where I think it's looking like he's going to be paralyzed, which is heartbreaking. And big shout out to Coach James, Bill James, because he was the most intense coach ever, but like made you a better wrestler because he knew the ins and outs of the sport. So I want to give a shout out to Coach James. I want to just address Travis, though. This is a family show, Travis. And
get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah, we can't have those kind of questions. That I wouldn't. It's on my, like, when it's on the Facebook page. Sometimes I go, should I delete this? We let it stay. This is a family show. We're not gonna take debate there.
Good job, Travis.
From Lincoln Reynolds, just said, hell yeah, Jacinda.
I've known Lincoln for over 10 years now. He's always been such a supportive friend. I do have to say that, so thank you, Lincoln.
Is he a Merrimack?
I met him when I used to hang out with my Nashua friends. So he's from Nashua. He went to North, I believe. And I met him through a bunch of friends I used to hang out with, and we've always kept in contact.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah, when I was in high school, there was only one. It was just Nashua. Mm-hmm. We went to the North Campus for like a year, but it was still just Nashua High.
Yep.
So when I hear like, people are like, do you go to North, you go to South? I go, I went to Nashua High. Okay. All right. Robbie Bouchard has some questions here, and they are back to softball related. He wants to know, what are your predictions for Atomic Launch next year?
I believe Atomic Launch will at least get to semifinals. With the team that is coming on and supporting Jay, I have very high hopes that you guys will be making it to semifinals.
Yeah, I just want to address this. So I played for Atomic Launch this year. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. This was the first finals in Industrial League that I hadn't been part of since 2017. So I would like to get back there. And I think we can.
Jay will always give everyone the benefit of the doubt and keep giving people a chance after chance after chance. And I say to him all the time, Jay, if they're not committed, don't play them. And that's what I say, and that's what happened a lot this year. He got stuck with the handful of people that were always willing to show up, and then the wishy-washies, and I loved everyone on the team, but it's all about a commitment for a team. If you're on a team, commit to it.
Yeah.
No matter how bad the team is.
I have to agree. I didn't like there were comments made that obviously it was like, hey, like, you agree, if you don't want to play, don't play. But yeah, I'm the type, I do the show, obviously, so Thursdays are tough for me. But you got to be upfront with that stuff, and I agree. If you
have a life outside of softball, but it's all about, if you're not showing up because you're just don't want to, like, that's just not an excuse, because that's not fair to your other teammates that show up and play. So that's where I had a lot of issues this year, and that's where I did go into the group chat and address a lot of things where if you're not going to commit, leave. Yeah. If you are going to commit, then put all your effort into it and show that you're going to be a true teammate, because it's not just it's just very frustrating when grown men are just complaining about winning and losing. It's a league tournament. I mean, not league tournament, like league ball.
Yeah.
Have fun. the more you take it serious, the more you're not going to do well.
Yeah, I think sometimes, like, so I've been on all ends of it. I've been on really winning teams. I've been on in the middle. I've been on last place. I've been playing for almost 20 years. So I've seen it all. So, you know, I don't know. I just have fun being out there playing, being around my friends, you know, which is sometimes lost, I think, with some people. But yeah, there was definitely some. Yeah, I mean, no one likes to lose, but you're right. You still show up. I mean, at the end of the day,
You still support your team. That's just how I see it.
I agree. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's a game. It's getting out.
Have fun.
It's nice out. It's the summer. Like, I want to be at the field, win or lose.
Exactly.
You know, but I think I think things can turn around, and, you know, and those people that don't want to come back, that's fine, you know. Robbie also wants to know, he says, do you make Greg sleep at the foot of the bed like a dog when he plays bad? Is this a rumor that's going around, or?
It's funny because I'll joke around like that, but no, he does get to sleep at the top of the bed, Robbie, when he even does bad. He just does not get very nice comments, and he's a great player, but like I've said, even huge tournament players have bad days.
Yeah.
So.
No one gets paid to play.
No,
we're all amateurs. I don't care if you're a D player, C player, B player, you're an amateur.
Yep.
We're all amateurs. So
Exactly.
Is Greg, so I'll have to ask, say Greg has a bad day, or a bad game, I should say. What's the car ride home like?
We'll talk about it, honestly. We'll talk about where he messes up or where he can improve on himself and everything, and then the joking starts coming in after. But
okay.
we do have a conversation of, what could you have done better? Why did you swing at that? You know what not to do, and you know how to not do that, so why are you doing it? But there are some days where he's frustrated at work and he will just take it out on the field and his head's not there. So we'll talk about it, and then the next game he does phenomenal. So
yeah, and that's some things too, like when you do get to the field, and I've had to learn that, is if you did have a bad day, that's your time not to let that continue. This is your fun.
Exactly.
And go out.
Don't bring your home and work life with you on the field.
Yeah.
Have yourself a game.
Yep. Work-life balance, and that's part of it, right? Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for a lot of us because, we all want to be, we're all getting older, but everybody still wants to be that guy that, has the big play or the big hit. And I think it's just naturally a human, part of being human, I guess.
The older you get, sometimes it's harder to move.
Yes.
That's what everyone has to remember.
That is very true. I'm learning that, though. I do feel pretty good a lot. My legs been bothering me a little bit, but it is part of getting older. I mean, you probably see that at the nursing place.
I do, but also I'm 25 and I just recovered from an ACL sprain.
Oh, okay.
So and last year I partially tore my hammy.
Yeah.
So it happens at any age, but it's mentally it kind of gets to you more than physically sometimes, where you're scared you're going to get hurt again, or you're scared I'm not going to get hurt over league ball and stuff like that. So I understand a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, all the time, I've had some serious injuries. They're all flag football related. But one of them was just a freak thing. And sometimes it's just, you get hurt just walking out your door.
Yeah, it's true.
Adam Goodman, Mr. Goodman. I got to give a shout out to Mr. Goodman. I used to work with him at JMUES over here. He says, Jacinda was one of my fifth grade students, I believe. Do you remember having Mr. Goodman?
So Mr. Goodman, great teacher. I will always appreciate him. He always helped me the most, even when I didn't want it. He always sat me down, was like, Jacinda, we're going to do this together, whether you don't want to do it or not. I used to have a folder of that used to go to my mom. She'd have to sign off on it and be like, oh, she received Jacinda's work and such. And I was a kid in school who was always so fearful of failing. Okay. So I wouldn't even turn in a project because I was so scared it wasn't going to be good enough, or I would just rush through a paper because I didn't understand it but didn't want to tell anyone. So we came up with this folder of Jacinda, you're going to have your mom sign it and you're going to bring it back every day. So I used to go up to the windowsill, put the signed paper over my mom's, and I would just sign her signature and be like, oh, yep, here. Oh, he caught on. He knew because I'd start erasing everything and put holes in the paper all the time. But, yeah, Mr. Goodman was a great, great teacher. Very, very patient.
He is a very patient guy. I haven't got to see Adam in a long time, but I always liked hanging out with the Goodmans. His wife, Kathy, she plays softball.
Yes.
She's in the women's league in Nashua there.
Never knew that.
Yeah, I forget. She's on a team that I don't really know a lot of people, but yeah. Did you have what other teachers did you have at JMUES? Because I worked there for a couple of years.
Really, Mr. Goodman's the only one that ever stuck with me, honestly.
Was Rick Grenier the gym teacher?
Yes, that's what his name was. I was talking to Brandy the other day, and Mr. Grenier, yep, Grenier's, that's his name. I called him Greenland the other day.
Oh, really?
No, Mr. Grenier, yep.
Yeah, he just retired not too long ago.
He was there for, what, 30 years, maybe?
You want to talk about scary? One of the scariest things I was ever part of, and he had a heart attack when we were playing basketball after school one day. And he's like, I just don't feel right. And I remember just being like, and we were like, no. And they got him to the hospital, like, yeah, he had a heart attack. And that was like, that was scary. Very scary.
He's in great health.
Yeah, and he's like the epitome of health, you know?
So that is really scary.
Yeah, no, JMUES was Mr. Morris, the vice principal,
yes.
And blanking on the principal. Marcia, oh God, Marcia, what was her last name? McGill.
This is McGill?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, JMUES is a great school. My nephew goes there now. Now he's in 5th grade.
My sister went through all that too. She loved it. She loved Merrimack.
Yeah, it's a good school system.
I agree. They're getting better every year, which is nice.
I think there's no perfect public school. There just is not. It's impossible.
But even private schools aren't perfect either.
No. Yeah, I don't think you have to be certified to teach at a private school.
Not that I'm aware of, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, so there's no perfect thing to education. I know that's a huge argument all the time, and it's just, I don't know. It is what it is. They're not paid millions of dollars.
You're kind of getting caught the same thing.
Yeah.
Just at a private school.
Yeah, I agree. So, Richard Bates has another question about what is the goal? What's the end goal of your degree, and what are you striving for?
I want to work in a prison.
Oh, really?
Yes. I want to be able to conduct interviews with criminals to understand why they did what they did, if it was mental health related or just straight up you have no conscience. I want to work with criminals and why they do what they do.
That'd be really, that'd be a great episode of Left Frame Ring for sure.
Oh yeah.
There is someone that we play with. She was working in a prison. Sarah, I don't know if you know Sarah. She might be a pickup one of these days, but she was working in a prison. I forget what her degree is.
I had a friend who worked as a nurse in a prison. The story she's told me, but she loved it.
Oh, really?
She absolutely loved it.
That's actually funny. Now that we mention it, my dad is teaching community college at a prison right now. So he has to go to the prison to teach.
You don't know who you're actually gonna meet or the different types of people you meet in prison, because some people can just be in there for a low grade charge, and then you have people in there for life for murder. So it's kind of crazy.
And they put them all together.
Yep.
It's that's always been an interesting thing to me. I'm like, I guess it probably comes down to dollars and cents, but yeah, there's probably criminals in there that should not be with
other criminals. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I guess the only way to solve that, don't go to prison.
Basically, yep.
All right, Richard has some other questions that I was curious about too, some softball-related stuff. I just wanted to ask first, and I think, and I might know the answer to this, but how did you get involved? When did you get involved with softball?
So I got involved
on the recreational level.
So my mom put me in very, very young. She's always put me in a sport, no matter what it was, and softball was always a sport I stuck with. So I did it for years. I did travel. I did
Oh,
a
okay.
whole bunch of stuff. And then I hit high school and I would still play but wouldn't take it seriously. I just kind of gave up on the dream of softball, and then I stopped playing. And then Nick Harrison and Jay Harrison brought me to the field one day, and just ever since then I've gotten back into it, and I just didn't realize how much I missed it until I started playing again.
Okay. Now, obviously, there's a transition because you were playing fast pitch
Yes.
then.
It's awful.
Well, yeah, what was that like all of a sudden going in and it's just, lobbed up to you?
The timing is what screws you, because you think it's coming in faster than it is, so you're swinging a lot earlier and you're missing the ball completely. So you're going from fast that's up to 70 to 80, even 90 sometimes, to not even a 10-mile-an-hour ball that's lobbing in on you, and you don't think it's a strike, and all of a sudden you're out. You struck out because you're not swinging, because you're not used to your new strike zone that you're presented with. And then just trying to get the swing back. Like, I used to be able to hit home runs in fast pitch. My swing was phenomenal, and now, like, sometimes I have to swing up at the ball. I'm swinging like a golf club, so it's been an adjustment getting back into it.
I gotta say though, like I've seen you kind of progress this year. Like I think we had one Sunday where I don't know, in 2 games you might have gone like 8 for 8 or something like that. So it's like riding a bike eventually, I guess.
I finally got it after a lot of swearing, frustration, throwing the bat, saying I'm never going to play again. So it's definitely a whirl of emotions.
Now, what year did you return then?
I have to say 2020 I returned.
Okay.
2020, 2021, yeah.
Now, at some point, I remember, like, I think Jay was having a hard time getting people there, and you were jumping into the men's games.
Yes. It was my second year I was playing there. I was able to start helping him because he wasn't having players show up again. So I hopped right in, and I was able to make playoffs because of how many games I actually had to play. Yep.
Yeah. That's too funny. I mean, you know what? I honestly, like, I don't even. Was there a controversy over that, or?
So this year, I didn't want to be put on a roster, but I was gonna be able to play when Jay only had 7 or 8. I wasn't ever gonna make 10.
Yeah.
But I was gonna make 9 at least, so he didn't have to forfeit. And there's a lot of controversy about it because some people were concerned I was gonna get hurt, but if I was playing in a co-ed tournament, it'd be kind of the same thing. And then other people just didn't like me at the field, honestly, and just didn't want me to play. And they just didn't like Jay. So that's really what it came down to.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I get where, like, in a situation, so, like, here's the tough thing, right? Because it is a men's league, right? That's all. I wouldn't be worried about you getting hurt. I think that's more of, like, an excuse because you're right. Like, you're seeing those same players when you go play co-ed.
Exactly.
So that's not the thing, but I guess their only thing is, like, it is, I get, the only thing to me would just be, like, it's a men's league. Like, we're not jumping into the women's league and stuff like that. So.
It's not like I'd be making them win that entire game.
Yeah.
Just with one person, and that's what people were taking it as.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like, she could be the reason why we have a close scoring game, which isn't true. One person can't just carry an entire team.
Yeah.
I'm just there to have fun and make everyone else have fun and not waste people's time going down to the field and then having to turn back around 2 minutes later because you won't let someone play.
Yeah, and I mean, you're already there because you're doing the book.
Exactly.
Like, I think it would be different if, like, in the women's league, and this is not a sexist thing or anything, but if there was a man bookkeeper and they were like, oh, we need a sub, they might not like that.
Which I understand.
Yeah.
Say if that man was like a C-ranked tournament player, I would understand because their hit is going to be 1,000 times harder than truly like my hit.
Yeah.
My hit's not going to like take someone out for an entire season if I smack it at them, which I've done before, and like it's never intentional. So I understand the women's league a little bit more than the men's league, but the men's league is a lot more guys are a lot bigger than me.
Yeah.
So you can take a ball off like the ankle or something if it does accidentally hit you, instead of like a female who is a little bit more fragile and isn't, I don't know how to explain it. I understand both sides of it, but it's not like I was asking to be put on the roster. I was just making sure my stepdad had
enough people.
At
the end of the day, like, I go down on the field and want to play, and I don't really care who's out there. Just
exactly.
Let's have a good time. Batesy has some other softball questions. What is your favorite softball moment as a player?
Honestly, having fun. Really, like, being able to joke with each other on and off the field, just being happy the entire time. Because the minute that, like, one person's upset, it brings down everyone else some of the time. And the more you keep positivity up on your side and the more you have fun, the better I believe you do on the field. So really just having fun and being with my friends. The person I love playing with is Brittany.
Really?
She cackles me all the time. Really, she got me back into charity tournament playing because she had me play in Brendan Laporte's dad's charity tournament. Yeah. So I do appreciate her ever having me on the team and giving me faith that I can get back into the into the game. So Brittany definitely makes me enjoy playing and coming around, and she really is truly one of my best friends at the field. Yeah,
Brittany, she's been around now for a while. I mean, she won a ring.
She did.
We talked about that on the show before.
She did win a ring. I'm proud of her.
I got to ask this, also from Batesy, what is your favorite moment as a non-player?
Being able to cheer on the people I'm friends with and love and hyping them up when they're having a bad day. So really just cheering. And you've probably heard Britt and I on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah, we were live streaming.
During the live streams, you just hear us yell everything that we can to be able to hype them up. Like having people cheer for you, whether or not you like it or not, always makes you feel good. And everyone deserves to feel good while they're playing a sport that they love.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I said on the stream, like, and the pub fans are going crazy here, ladies and gentlemen. The fans are excited.
Oh, yeah. You just hear Britt and I yelling full force.
Now, he wants to know, what are some of your favorite players to watch that are not Greg?
Schultz. He really he amazes me in the outfield. He's a great, great ball player. He really is. Watching Jay is hilarious because he does his own thing, really, when it comes to batting anything, honestly. I like going to watch a few of the women because it's kind of nice to watch and learn what they do and take upon them and learn. And Camino. I've been trying to pitch, so I do watch Camino a lot, pitching and trying to learn his ways of doing it.
He's gotten a lot better over the years.
He has.
Like, he really has. Because pitching's not easy. Because I think when I met Camino, he wasn't a pitcher. He wasn't a pitcher yet.
I've only met Camino as a pitcher.
Oh, really? Yeah. When I met him, probably like 2015, I don't think he was pitching. And Anthony, if I'm wrong on that, I just don't recall you pitching until later. Any female players, because you brought that up, that like stand out to you that you're like, that's what I want to be like, or like?
So I used to play with Ashley Grassini a lot.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Back in the day, and watching her like progress over the years has been amazing. So I tend to, when I see her playing, my eyes tend to go to her and learn from her because she was older than me. So I did always look up to her when we were playing together. So I still do that. I still look up to her and be like, oh, like, and she's a second baseman, so am I. So I just like to learn her ways of what she does and how she does it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she's a great player. All right, I want to get into the top fives here. I got a couple categories here. Do you have a top 5 favorite musicians?
No, honestly.
Or anything that you're listening to?
This is kind of funny. I've been into this SpongeBob like music things that have been coming out just as like a good giggle. Akon when I'm in a throwback type of mood. Just Morgan Wallen, I listen to a lot.
He's gotten very that. Did you go to the show at Fenway?
I did.
You did. Okay. How was that?
Great show.
Yeah.
Luke Combs, I love hearing too, and just Blink 182.
Ah.
Honestly.
Okay, they're one of my all-time favorites. I didn't go see them.
I've never seen them in concert, but I love when I'm on shuffle on Apple Play, Apple Music, and I just hear them. Makes my day 1,000 times better.
Nick, the head of the studio, he's a big fan of Blink 182.
Yes.
As well.
And Linkin Park.
Yeah. Oh, Linkin Park's another
Great band.
I gotta say too, like Blink. I remember when I first found Blink 182. I don't know if you were into the Dude Ranch album. It was in '97. It came out before like Travis. Travis was the drummer. Barker, yeah. And they used to have this thing on MTV, the Sports and Music Festival.
Yes.
And I watched that and was like, who are these guys? And Damn It was the song. And I don't know, this probably, did they have Newberry? Oh no. Yeah, it wasn't. They still have Newberry Comics, so never mind. I bought the album at Newberry Comics. And I mean, listened to that all through middle and high school. Like the Dude Ranch album's like one of my all-time favorites. A lot of the songs sound similar, but I love it,
They do, but they all have their own like meaning behind them, and so every song can sound the same, but it's still such a whole different meaning to every song, which is nice. Yeah,
I've heard interviews though where a lot of times they were progressing, and the studio would be like, "Give us the pop punk song that we want.
Yep.
We need at least one."
Yep.
What about TV shows? Because we did talk about a lot of the crime stuff.
So, CSI Las Vegas is my top tier favorite show. Family Guy is my next. And then I'll watch, like, I'm really bad about finishing series. So, like, I'll start a series. I'll never finish it. Then I'll randomly just start going back to it. So I've been trying to finish Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
And that is a very, very long series, unfortunately. But one series I will always watch is CSI Las Vegas. And my sister currently goes to school there. So it does not make me feel good at all with her being there, and I watch all those shows. But I try to get into series and stuff, but I can just never stay focused enough sometimes, especially if they start out so slow. The only other series I ever finished was Pretty Little Liars.
Oh, okay. What was that on?
What was that on? I don't remember. I watch it on Netflix now, but
okay. Yeah, Netflix. Oh my goodness, that you can get through anything on there. Yeah, series are tough. I admit that like Breaking Bad I love. It took me. I like started watching it and I stopped and I didn't finish it until like almost 8 years later. And it's
that's me with Game of Thrones. I'm gonna try to get into Grey's Anatomy next, but that's to be determined.
That's like 20 years of like episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's I will say that show. It's funny because I watched it with my college girlfriend a lot. She was in that, and then I never watched it after we broke up. And then 10 years later, the girl I was dating at the time, she was in the show. Started watching again. I'm like, wait, not much has changed in 10 years.
No.
I was like,
No, I always go on TikTok and watch like the little episodes that they post. And I'm like, oh, I already know that episode, so I don't need to watch it.
Yeah. It's classic, and I think it's gonna hit about 20 years. So that's crazy. What about movies? Top 5 movies.
Pirates of the Caribbean, that entire series I can watch any day of the week. Dark Shadows, Johnny Depp, Nightmare Before Christmas, my favorite Halloween movie. Marley and Me, if I'm truly like feeling a certain way, that will always just kind of be a movie I hold on to because I was in the movie theaters and I was in the movie theater when I watched it, and I had to keep leaving because I was disrupting everyone because I couldn't stop crying.
Owen Wilson's in that?
Yes.
Okay, I know. Yeah.
And Owen Wilson is my favorite actor, so
okay.
I truly try to watch all those movies, and The Notebook.
Okay. The Notebook is a great story.
It is.
I found it depressing at the end.
It is when you watch the entire thing and just realize it's a whole backstory of him explaining to his wife of how they met and everything going forward.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I don't want to get old.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Unfortunately, that's the real world too. I see it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you a big Johnny Depp fan?
Yes.
Then? Were you into because they just put on Netflix, I don't know if you've seen it, talking about the Amanda Heard Johnny Depp case.
I watched that from beginning to end. So that was very much like a case where I was back and forth for a while, but I am happy he cleared his name and we're still able to watch him and respect him as a person.
Absolutely. Were you, because it's like, I did watch that and I kind of thought like, because I was like, yeah, Johnny Depp, let's go. But we don't know these celebrities.
Exactly.
And then I was like, was I like just rooting for him blindly? Like that documentary started to get me thinking about that.
So I never thought he actually did it. Why I thought that, I don't know him personally, but just doing a lot of research made me just like, okay, like they've definitely both done wrong in their relationship. Just who was more wrong?
Yeah.
At the time of all this happening.
Because he's definitely, I mean, you saw the video of him like just hammered and you're like, yeah, that guy's a pain in the ass.
Exactly.
I'm sure.
Exactly. So obviously being famous, you see the good, the bad, the horrible, the great. So your life's always broadcasted out there. So no matter what, you can be a good person or you can be a bad person.
Yeah, and we'll never really know like everything.
You'll never know what happened behind closed doors in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I want to get into one of my favorite segments on the show. I'm going to give you, it's blank versus blank. I'm going to give you two things. You got to pick one. You got to tell me why.
Okay.
First one I want to do just because they were a bit, this is back in the 90s. There were two rivals, and yesterday was the 27th anniversary of the passing of Tupac, one of my favorites. But also one of my favorites, Biggie. Out of the music you've heard from them, who are you picking, Tupac or Biggie, and why?
Tupac, because I just grew up with cousins that constantly played his music, and so I was only really ever exposed to Tupac and not much Biggie.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's more biased towards Tupac, 'cause that's who I ever really just grew up listening to.
Yeah, I listened to more Tupac as a kid, and then like he had more like music out than Biggie did.
Yes.
By a lot. Like when albums were coming out for years after he passed away. You know?
Yeah, so it unfortunately, like, you're gonna kind of listen to the artist that has more of a variety than just a little small sometimes.
Yeah, because I think Ready to Die is like my favorite album.
Yes.
That's Biggie, but again, that's just one album. Tupac had all these albums. So, Dunks or Starbucks?
Starbucks.
Really?
So I'm not a big coffee drinker, so I go more with the refreshers and other types of drinks. And Starbucks, I tend to like their refreshers a lot more because I can like change how I want. Dunks, it's kind of like you get what you get.
Yeah.
So I do go more with Starbucks.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I probably had Starbucks. I've definitely bought like the iced coffee at Target, but I don't know if I've actually been in Starbucks. More fashionable, Crocs or sandals with socks?
Crocs. Crocs, and I say that because they don't slide off my feet as much as sandals do.
Okay.
And I just find Crocs truly comfortable. People can fight with me on it, but I find Crocs so much more comfortable than my flip-flops half the time.
Now, what do you think when you do see someone wearing socks with sandals?
I can't judge. My grandmother did that all her entire life. So I always thought that was a normal thing to do until one day she's not here anymore. And my mom and I were talking about it. She goes, "So that's not a normal thing to do." I was like, people do what they want. If that's comfortable for them, okay.
That's true. That's definitely true. Two of my all-time favorite singers. I'm wondering what your take is on this. Janet Jackson or Mariah Carey?
I like Janet Jackson more. Just because I'm not a big fan of Mariah Carey. I've never, besides her one Christmas song. Okay. And my mom exposed me to Janet Jackson, so I do like Janet Jackson. Yeah. Jackson a lot more.
I finally saw her in concert, and I was like, if I don't go now, I'm never going to see Janet Jackson in concert. And That's been my like childhood. Mariah too. They both
Yeah.
are my lifelong crushes. So if Mariah tours, I'm gonna go to that too. Would you rather use TikTok or Instagram?
TikTok, honestly, because I find a lot funnier things I relate to on TikTok than Instagram.
Okay. Now, but a lot of the stuff, if I'm not wrong, because I've been saying this on the show, a lot of the older videos on Instagram came from TikTok. Is that...
More of Vine back in the day. They
Okay.
came from like Vine and stuff like that, and then they all transitioned into TikTok.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, they are funny. There's so much funny stuff.
Yes.
Obviously, like amateur doing it, you know.
And it's just funny because you see like older generations doing it, and then you have the younger generations doing it. So it's a mix of funny and just kind of controversial things on there.
No, absolutely. It's a riot what's out there now. Would you rather have, now this is a football question, Mac Jones or Tua?
Mac Jones. Just because I think he's more attractive.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a big football fan.
Understandable. I mean, we're hoping he has big. Is Greg a big football guy?
He does a lot of fantasy, but I'm not sure if he's like really into that. Like, I don't think he follows one team.
Okay.
Nick does. Nick is a very big Dallas Cowboys fan.
Oh yes, we've discussed that, and
Oh yeah.
Actually, that brings us to our final blank versus blank. Nick Harrison or John Ciampa?
Oh no. Nick Harrison, hands down, because I can call him in the middle of the night and he's answering the phone and helping me, and he's a great stepbrother. Really, he keeps me on my toes. He gives it back to me when I'm having an attitude. So really, Nick Harrison, hands down, is probably one of the biggest blessings that came into my life.
Oh,
and I'm blessed to have him as my stepbrother.
Oh no, Nick is a great guy. John, I'm actually happy to be playing with those guys on that team.
Him and Ciampa as best friends is even better.
Yeah, they're great guys. I know that's a tough one to pick, but I figured you'd pick your stepbrother.
That's very hard because Ciampa has been there for me for a lot too, but
Yeah.
I do have to favorite Nicky Harrison a little bit more.
Oh, fair enough. But Jacinda, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Anytime.
It's been a blast. Everybody out there, have a wonderful week. Keep your heads up. And until next time, let freedom ring.